I'm 87 years old, and I lived most of my life without asking one simple question. The hard truth is, I thought I was doing everything right. I believed that if I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and kept food on the table, then I was a good man. I never stopped to check if that was really true. I never paused long enough to look at my life from the outside. I just kept moving. I grew up in a small house with thin walls and a noisy kitchen. 5 children, 1 bathroom. My father left early every morning and came back smelling like sweat and metal. My mother kept her head down and made sure we were fed. Nobody sat us down to talk about feelings. If something hurt, you dealt with it quietly. That's how I learned to live. At 16, I got my first job stocking shelves at a grocery store. I remember the feeling of holding my first paycheck. It wasn't much, but it felt like proof that I was becoming a man. I liked being tired at the end of the day. Tired meant useful. In my 20s, I moved to warehouse work. Long shifts, concrete floors, the sound of machines running all day. I didn't mind it. The routine felt safe. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. I married at 24. She was steady, calm. She didn't talk loudly. She listened more than she spoke. We didn't have a big wedding, just close family and a small reception in a church hall. I remember thinking that life was starting properly now. We moved into a modest house. The paint wasn't perfect. The porch creaked when you stepped on it, but it was ours. I worked extra hours whenever they were offered. I told myself I was building something solid. When our first child was born, I felt scared in a way I never admitted. I held that tiny body in my arms and realized someone would depend on me completely. My answer to that fear was simple: work harder. That became my solution for everything. Bills went up, I worked more. The roof needed fixing, I worked more. A second child arrived, I worked more. I thought that was love. The house slowly filled with signs of life. Toys under the couch, crayon marks on the fridge, small shoes by the door. My wife moved through the rooms quietly, keeping everything together. She handled school meetings, doctor visits, bedtime stories. I handled the paycheck. There were evenings when I came home and the kids would run toward me. I remember the weight of them hitting my legs. I would pat their heads, ask about school, then sit down with a tired body and a tired mind. The TV would go on, dinner would be eaten, the day would close. Sometimes my wife would look at me like she wanted to say something more. I noticed it, but I was too focused on resting. I told myself we could talk on the weekend. Weekends were for fixing things. The sink, the fence, the car. There was always something practical to handle. I never asked her how she was really doing. I assumed she was fine because she didn't complain. As the children grew, their needs changed. Homework got harder. Friendships got complicated. I heard pieces of their lives from the other room. Their laughter, their arguments, their doors closing. I stayed steady, predictable. I believed that consistency was enough. There were school events I missed because of overtime. I told myself missing 1 or 2 things wouldn't matter in the long run. I said yes to extra shifts without thinking twice. More money meant more safety. That was my logic. I didn't ask what the cost might be. Our dinner table was small, square, and worn at the edges. We sat around it for years. Sometimes the room felt warm and easy. Other times it felt quiet in a way I didn't understand. Not angry, just distant. If my son answered in short sentences, I assumed he was just tired. If my daughter spent more time in her room, I assumed it was a phase. If my wife seemed quieter than usual, I thought maybe she was just worn out from the day. I never asked. Not because I didn't care. I cared deeply. But asking felt uncomfortable. What if the answer required something from me that I didn't know how to give? It was easier to believe everything was fine. I told myself that love didn't need to be discussed. We were there. We were together. We were surviving. That should have been enough. Years kept passing. The kids got taller. Their voices changed. The house started to feel smaller as they grew into themselves. I noticed it, but I didn't slow down. I kept working. When my son left for college, I helped him load his bags into the car. We shook hands instead of hugging. That's what I had always done. He drove away, and I stood in the driveway longer than I expected to. The house felt strangely quiet that evening. I told myself this was normal. Children leave. That's life. But something inside me felt unfinished, and I couldn't name it. My daughter left a few years later. Another empty bedroom, another closet with hangers that no longer held anything. I walked past those rooms at night and didn't go inside. I didn't want to feel whatever was waiting there. My wife and I sat across from each other more often after that. 2 cups of coffee, 2 plates of dinner, the television filling the space where conversation could have been. We had shared decades together. We knew each other's habits. We knew how the other took their coffee. But there were parts of her I had never explored, not deeply. I didn't notice that clearly back then. I just felt a quiet space between us, and I kept assuming it would always be there. As the years went on, the house grew quieter. At first, I told myself I enjoyed it. Less mess, less noise, more order. I would sit in the living room after dinner, the lamp on beside me, and listen to the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. My wife would knit or read. We didn't argue. We didn't fight. We just existed side by side. I thought peace meant success. But peace and distance can look the same if you don't look closely. In my early 80s, my body started slowing down. Nothing dramatic, just small things. My knees hurt when I stood up. I needed more rest. Work had ended by then. Retirement felt strange. For the first time in my life, I didn't have somewhere I had to be every morning. Without work, there was more silence. That's when thoughts get louder. One evening, about 2 years before my wife passed, I was sitting alone in the living room. She had gone to bed early. The television was off. I don't know why I didn't turn it on. Maybe I was too tired. Maybe I just didn't feel like filling the room with noise. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. I could hear my own breathing, and a question came to me. If I had less time than I think, what would I wish I'd done differently? It wasn't dramatic. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. It was just a clear thought sitting in front of me, and the answer came almost immediately. I would have asked more. I would have asked my wife what she needed from me when we were young and overwhelmed. I would have asked her what she dreamed about before life became routine. I would have asked my son what he felt the day I missed his game. I would have asked my daughter why she closed her door more often during those teenage years. I would have asked myself why I was so afraid of uncomfortable conversations. That night, I realized something simple. I had lived most of my life on assumptions. I assumed that because I stayed, I was fully present. I assumed that because I provided, I was fully loving. I assumed that silence meant everything was fine. But silence can also mean something is missing. After that evening, I started noticing small memories differently, moments that once felt ordinary it began to feel important. I remembered my wife sitting at the edge of our bed years ago, wanting to talk while I said I was too tired. I remembered my son standing in the kitchen, trying to explain something about school while I glanced at the clock. I remembered my daughter asking if I could take a day off work, and me saying maybe next time. There are many next times in life, until suddenly there aren't. When my wife got sick, we spent long hours talking, not about money, not about bills, about us, about our early years, about the children, about things we had never fully said. I asked her if she had ever felt alone while I was right there in the house. She paused before answering. That pause told me more than the words that followed. She said she always knew I loved her, but sometimes she wished I had let her see it more clearly. She wished I had asked her how she was doing, not just what needed to be done. She didn't say it with anger. She said it gently. That made it harder. After she passed, the house felt different, not just quiet, empty in a way I'd never experienced before. I walked from room to room and felt the weight of years. So many chances to connect more deeply. So many evenings I chose comfort over curiosity. What I lost wasn't money. It wasn't status. It wasn't success. It was closeness. Closeness that could have been built slowly, one honest question at a time. At 87, I understand something I didn't understand at 47. People don't just need you to be there. They need to be known by you. In this last part of my life, I think about that often. I think about how simple it would have been to ask, "Are you really okay?" And then sit still long enough to listen. If you're younger than me, I won't tell you how to live. Life teaches everyone differently, but I will say this. Don't be afraid of small questions. Ask your wife how she feels. Even if you think you already know, ask your husband what's been on his mind. Ask your children what they're worried about. Ask yourself why you keep pushing certain conversations away. The answers might be uncomfortable. That's all right. Discomfort passes. Distance can last a lifetime. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to solve every problem. Just be willing to know the people sitting at your table. Time moves quietly. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder. It doesn't announce that this is the last year your house will be full. It just keeps going. I can't change how I lived my earlier years. I've made peace with that. Regret is heavy if you carry it every day. I don't carry it like that anymore. I carry awareness instead. Now, when I sit in my living room at night, I don't turn away from the silence. I let it remind me of what matters. If I could go back, I would ask more. I would listen longer. I would choose presence over routine at least a few more times. That one question reshaped how I see everything, not with bitterness, just with honesty. And at my age, honesty is enough.